Welcome to Weddings Unveiled, the podcast designed to help you build a productive, profitable wedding or event business. Here's your host, Angela Profit.
Hi, y'all. It's Angela Profit, your event and productivity therapist, coming to you from the heart of Music City in Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Weddings Unveiled, professional tips and secrets on wedding planning and event design, where we take you behind the scenes of our past experiences in the event industry, what we have learned from them, and how they have made us stronger. This podcast will help you grow a productive and profitable business to launch you into success within the hospitality industry. Today, I'm joined by the best communications and event consultant in the business, Alison Burry.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for having me, Angela. I'm so excited to share some of our past experiences together. We've definitely been through some unique situations over the years. What are we discussing today?
Today, we are talking about asking questions when you're going on a new site visit and make sure that you dress appropriately for the occasion.
Yes, I had a very interesting experience. So this couple wanted to get married at the mother of the groom's house. She had a beautiful property and the land was really pretty, so they wanted to get married out there, a very small ceremony. So we did a site visit before the wedding just to check it out and make sure we kind of understood the lay of the land and where everything was. And they were going to have some small past appetizers and some cocktails, so we needed to check all that out for catering. And so we go to the meeting, and we were dressed in nice clothes. We were wearing dresses and heels, and it was Angela, myself, and our intern at the time. And we pull into the driveway and park and walk up to the house, and I was the last one to walk in. So the mom opened the door, and she was an older lady. The couple was probably in their mid-40s, I would assume. And so she was an older woman, and she opens the door. She was so sweet. And Angela walked in first and kind of like stood next to her, and then our intern walked in and stood next to her. So they were kind of forming like a semicircle around the door. So I walk in and I kind of like inch myself to the left because it was the only place I could go, and everybody's standing like in a little circle facing each other. And the only spot that I could stand was on this air vent in the floor. And I knew that the vent was there, and I was conscious of it, and I was wearing heels that had a really skinny heel, and I was trying so hard to be conscious of keeping all of my weight on my toes because I knew how thin that the heel of my shoe was, and I didn't want it to go into the cracks of the air vent. And so we're standing there talking, introducing ourselves, and she was so sweet. And then all of a sudden, I didn't move, but I guess my weight shifted a little because those vent grates are so thin. And my heel, I fall backwards, and the wall was behind me, so I didn't fall, but I kind of like, my heart sunk a little, and my heel went into the air vent. And so I looked, and I'm like, I get all flustered, and I just felt myself instantly get hot. Like, I got all nervous, and I'm just warm. Like, it was so nerve-wracking. And it was the first time we met this lady. She probably thought I was psychotic. And so my shoe falls in, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so everybody's like somewhat giggling, but it was dead silent. Like, nobody did anything. Everybody's just looking at me. I'm like, okay. And so I go to pull my shoe up to get my heel out of the vent. And mind you, these were new shoes, and so I was trying to be conscious of not, like, ripping the leather or the material off of my heel. And so I yank my foot up, and not only does my shoe come out of the grate, but the grate came out of the floor. And so I pulled my shoe up, and the whole vent is attached to my shoe, and it's just like which is on my foot, and my leg's just holding it in midair. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And this sweet mom, she looked at me and she goes, oh honey, it's okay. That happens to me all the time. And I was like, oh really? Are you wearing heels around your house and you stand on your air vents? I was like, thanks for the solidarity, but I don't really believe you.
And her sweet little ankles, I'm like, there is no way in hell your little foot could fit in like heels like this.
It was funny. And then we ended up going to lunch, just the three of us, after we left the mom's house. And I think we forgot it happened, and we're just talking at lunch and going through stuff. And then our intern remembers that it happened, and we all were laughing so hard. I mean, we had tears coming out of our eyes that it was just so funny, and we were just laughing, and it was hilarious, and we've told that story a lot since then.
It was our intern's first date too.
Yeah.
And she didn't really know us that well, and we did not laugh like when that happened. We didn't really quite know how.
No one did anything. I was just awkwardly standing there in silence.
It was crazy. So that was like the first time we got to meet the mom. But again, she was super, super sweet. And honestly, on the day of the wedding, the ceremony went great. The weather was perfect. It was very, very, very small. And they had a huge party that night. But during the day, they did want, for traditional purposes, a small wedding cake. And they wanted to cut the cake. And so when we were doing the site visit, walking around the property, the mom was telling us how the father of the groom has all these hobbies and that like takes animals. So like, for example, she mentioned to me this like bee colony. Is that what you call it? To like make honey? Like the father like made honey. And I was just like, oh my God, that's awesome. And didn't think a thing of it until the wedding day. And I didn't ask where that bee farm was or whatever you call it, bee colony. And so there was this beautiful arch that was kind of centered over by the pool. And I just thought to myself, the cake would look amazing over there. And this bride, she was so laid back. She's like, Angela, just put the stuff wherever you think it looks good. I don't really care. And because it was so small and intimate, we just did a few things at the last minute. And so I put the table there, and the baker comes and leaves the cake there. And I go up front to where the ceremony is happening and start running the ceremony. And while the ceremony is going on, the caterer, one of the girls came in and she was like, oh my God, Angela, the cake is covered in bees. And so they had to like shoo all the bees away, which I wish I had a video of that, and bring the cake inside, which was fine. And then when the bride and groom were done with the ceremony, they had to walk through the house, and the mom was standing there and she's like, oh, why is the wedding cake in the kitchen and it's not out on the table? And I was like, well, we'll bring it out right before they cut it. I think we had a little bit of an issue with the bees. And she looked over out the window, I'll never forget, and she's like, oh, well, that's exactly where the bee colony is. And so I'd set the cake, filled with sugar and icing, right in front of that bee colony or beehive or bee farm or whatever you call it. So I really needed to be aware of that, and I should have remembered that from the site visit. And so it's not always good to, just because you see a pretty area, doesn't really mean it's the best place for the cake.
Definitely. So overall, between the wedding day and the site visit before the wedding day, what would you say your biggest takeaway is?
I would say my biggest takeaway, again, is just make sure that you're dressing appropriately for the occasion. And then if something does happen that just kind of catches you off guard, like laugh at yourself. Like, we're human, we're not robots, we're not perfect, and we all make mistakes. And so thank goodness this couple and the family could laugh off a few things that we didn't think were funny at the time, but now every time we talk about it, we laugh at it. So it's okay to laugh at yourself.
Great. Well, Angela, can you share with our listeners some of the different products and resources you have available to help wedding and event planners?
Absolutely. You can visit the blog on the website, and there's lots of great articles and resources available there, which it's angelaprofit.com. You can sign up for tips and resources and be part of our email list. We'll send you all kinds of juicy details. We do webinars and live events, so watch social media for more about that.
Awesome. Well, Angela, thank you so much for sharing your valuable advice with us today. I can't wait for next week to tell more of our incredible experiences together.
And thank you, Alison, so much for joining me. And thank you so much to our listeners for joining us today on Weddings Unveiled, professional tips and secrets on wedding planning and event design. Tune in next week to learn more from our past experiences. If you found this podcast helpful, please share it with other wedding and event professionals. Be sure to subscribe today so you never, ever miss the juicy details of Weddings Unveiled. I'm so passionate about helping other event professionals, and with my background in psychology, I appreciate that our best selves develop from real-life situations. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to tune in next week for more tips on how to grow your business. And if you have a question or an unresolved issue that you want guidance on, connect with us on angelaprofit.com. For more valuable resources, again, visit the website. And until next time, remember to stay productive and profitable.
You've been listening to Weddings Unveiled with Angela Profit. Join us next time for more insights to help you build a productive, profitable wedding or event business. For more great resources, head over to angelaprofit.com.